Welcome to the Fight Cherry podcast. I am your host, Big Bang Mike. Not a euphemism for the show. I chose that name beforehand. This is a show where we interview a fighter, first-time MMA fighter, before their fight, get some expectations and have some fun with them. I have Mike Allen here as my guest, soon to be the Ragin' Pagan. How you doing today, Mike Allen?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
How you feeling with this fight coming up?
I feel pretty okay.
Pretty okay with it?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, you got a good coach, and he's pretty. Getting right into this thing, let's just jump on in. Fighting is not something that most normal people want to do, aspire to do, right? So what in your stupid mind decided to make you want to get locked in a cage with another human being and chuck knucks at each other until someone calls it quits?
Well, I like fighting. I kind of always have liked fighting. It's exciting to me. Probably what really motivated me to pursue amateur mixed martial arts was when I watched your fight a few years back and just seeing like what was around and who was fighting and things like that really motivated me to do so.
So you saw some of the fighters in the cage and you're like, you know what? I'm pretty good. I could do one of these.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. When you saw that fight, I don't really know this story. Were you a student at the MMA Combat Club yet, or did you see me fight before that?
No, so I was a student at MMA Combat Club.
Okay, so yeah, that was one of the fights. Perfect. Now we came up with the name the Ragin' Pagan, right? Sort of offhand. Most people pick their own names, but why don't you go ahead and tell the story of what the Ragin' Pagan is, how you kind of came up with that fight nickname.
So it's I didn't come up with it.
It was me. I'm brilliant. That's why I think it's hilarious.
Yes, you came up with it. I'm not much of a showman, which come to find out I kind of have to be in order to do this, but so you came up with it, I believe, because I do practice Norse heathenry, and we kind of came up with a few different ones. My wife came up with Angry Allen, which is a nickname that has just been around for a long time, and my daughter came up with Big Blue, just right out of the recesses of her mind. So we put it to a vote, and my daughter decided that the Ragin' Pagan was it.
Well, a lot of people don't really understand that, like, that fighting is a lot like theater, right? Like, you see all the most popular fighters out there. They're really, really good, but at the same time, you have to be able to entertain people. And that's where I kind of get suited into those kind of things. As you can see, I'm a bit of a exhibitionist. And I just thought the Ragin' Pagan was a hilarious name. And now I get to scream that at you every time you're training. I get mad at you and I call you Pagan and I say, keep going Pagan, which I think rolls off the tongue. I can like it. Are you comfortable with being called Pagan for the rest of your life?
Yeah,
well, good.
That's totally fine. It's religious identifier at work and everything, and so it's totally fine.
A fight name to me is sort of sacred. In my opinion, fight names really shouldn't change. Like, once you pick it, it's yours forever. And there are some instances where fighters change those names, but it's almost like a nomenclature, right? Something that you can go back into the recesses of your brain and say, you know what? I'm not Michael Askey anymore. I'm Big Bang. It's time for Big Bang to show up, right? And you're not Mike Allen anymore in that cage. You're the Ragin' Pagan, and that kid can do whatever that kid can do, right? So I want to know what you're most nervous about coming into this fight. Now, just so you know, this podcast isn't going to be released until like the day before your fight. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty unlikely that anybody's going to see it before the fight itself. So you can be candid and honest when it comes to telling us what you're kind of the most nervous about.
That's really easy. Making weight.
Making weight.
I have such anxiety about making weight, which, by the way, 172.5.
172.5.
Yeah, so
All right, good for
two
you,
and a
dude.
half pounds, but it still doesn't relieve
That's a
the
shit and a spit.
anxiety.
You got it.
Right. And I also don't want to lose.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's a normal one.
Yeah. You know, I think that people forget that going into their first fight. That yeah, it's a big event for you, but also like there's a lot of people coming to see you.
Yeah. Yeah, we sold all 30 of our original tables, and we've sold 5. We requested 10 more tables, and we've sold 5 or 6 of those. And we've sold, I think, 28 general admission tickets. So, and then there's people that reside overseas in other countries that are going to watch this on pay-per-view.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit cynical, and I think some of these people just want to watch me get punched in the mouth. But I am, very thankful for, what are we at, 30, 60... 65. I don't do math in public for a reason. Almost 70 people that are wanting to come and watch, me get punched in the mouth.
Well, and that's super awesome. I mean, when it comes to nobody knows who you are, right? Nobody knows whether or not you're going to win or how good you are, but to show up on day one and have 70 people that would pay to watch you, that typically doesn't happen in any other type of artistic medium. And that's where I think fighting's pretty special. Like most people who are starting out of bands, they would kill to have 70 people pay $80 to come and see them.
You're not wrong. In a previous life, I actually was a heavy metal band manager.
Ooh.
And it was really hard to get venues and to get people to show to venues and things like that, especially people that we all knew. And there was 5 people in that band. And yeah, it was pretty difficult.
Yeah, and that's a lot of people don't really understand that pressure, or at least if you're first starting in MMA, or if you're first starting your first kind of fights, they don't understand that there's not only the pressure to make weight, right, to win the fight, but there's also pressure to bring people into the gate, because as we've discussed before, it's like you don't technically quote unquote have to sell tickets for your first fight. But if you don't, it's pretty unlikely that you're going to get a second one, right? Because Mike is going to be fighting for Steel Fist Fight Night on May 31st. This is 2025. And he's got 70 people showing up to that gate. Not only does he have to get fit, get ready, and make weight, but he also has the pressure of everybody coming to see him, and how much of a bummer it would be if you did lose, So there's an added kind of sort of, I guess, like a bug in your ear of let's make sure that not only everything goes well, but we're also fighting a good fight. But the one thing I would say is, as long as you go out there and put on a good show, everybody's going to be happy no matter what. So win or lose, as long as they're there for a good show, you're going to be just fine. Everybody's going to be so happy either way. Now, because we talked about a little bit about you getting into fighting. It's a bit later for you in life, right? We definitely, you have a career. We definitely don't consider your goal to be like a UFC champion or anything like that. So what are your goals with your first fight? What are your goals with fighting in general? Do you have any extra martial arts goals? I mean, there's got to be an extra reason that you're doing this outside of just fuck around and find out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, it's a long question with long answers.
It's all right. That's what we're here to do.
So I want to keep doing this as long as I can, and I suffer no illusions that I'm going to make a career out of fighting. I'm 37 years old, taking my first sanctioned fight, and there's just no. I have no aspirations for getting my pro card and fighting in the pro circuit. I like fighting. It's fun. As far as
Well, a lot of people, like, I think that that's an important sentiment to kind of dwell on for a second, because I think that a lot of people, when they see somebody who's going into fighting or they're thinking about the concept of fighting themselves, they always think of things in terms as somebody who is doing this for a living. Right? Like, why would you even take on a state sanctioned MMA fight if you're not going to be like, if you're not going to try to be part of ONE FC or something like that? And that's not really the case. Like, you can take on a local fight. I mean, I would recommend that you do it with professionals rather than not. But you can take on a fight and just fight because you like fighting. Like, fighting for the sake of fighting is a real thing, and I think that that's an admirable thing. You know, Mike is has a career and a family, and he just likes fighting and wants to fight. And whereas, like, I might do something like this for a living, it's completely okay to jump in a fight and just do it because you like to hit people in the snot locker sometimes, right?
well, it also pairs perfectly with one of my core beliefs, and that is lethality. I believe that every person should be able to take care of themselves, at least to some degree of competency. And I've been training for a few years now, and so why not take a fight? It's like being on the football team, and all you ever do is practice for the game, but you never go to the game. That's the thing, is it's like you want to go and play in the game. Granted, this game is a little bit more extreme, but
no, and one of the things that I love what we did about your fight gear. So when you were a fighter on my fight team, we have experts kind of design your sort of outlook for the people who are just watching for the first time, which is everybody because this is our first podcast. But we kind of designed that whole look and that whole aesthetic. And one of the things that we did with Mike's fight gear is we had the name of his kids on the side of his shorts and on the sides of his walkout gear. And his daughter is actually a student of mine in our kids program, so she's not going to be fighting anytime soon, at least. And I think that it is an important thing for a father to show their daughters, to show their kids that, like, hey, martial arts is a part of life. Fighting is a part of life. Learning how to defend yourself is something that you have to do. And I think that that's a real cool thing that, you know, your kids get to show up to an MMA fight and watch dad do his thing, even if it's not going to be for, like, the UFC champion of the world. So I really respect that, and I love that aspect about it. Speaking of leading up to this fight, what has been, like, the hardest thing about preparing for this fight? Outside, I mean, I know we kind of talked about the weight cut, right? But what is surprising, what is new about, or is there anything novel that you didn't expect leading into the fight?
There's a couple things. So, I mean, aside from not eating as much.
Oh, by the way, real quick before we jump in, I should say that Mike, this isn't a requirement, but Mike definitely went into this fight deciding that he wanted to do it correctly. So we did hire a diet coach. Andrew Raposta from Built for Life is doing all of his training, or all of his, I should say, nutritional coaching. Mm-hmm. Mike started at what, like 195? Yeah, he started at 195, and we decided that if you went in at 195, you'd probably be fighting somebody who was like 6'7". So we wanted to cut you down to welterweight. We wanted to cut you down to 170. He's currently 172, 1 week out, thanks to Andrew Raposta and Built for Life. But with that being said, go ahead and move on with your question.
Yeah, Andrew's been super helpful, like as helpful as you have been for this entire fight camp. One of the surprising things, well, I don't know if it was really surprising, but not something that I really thought was going to impact as much, is just the lack of time that I have for anything outside of fight camp.
Yeah.
You know, because just like with everything in life, you know, I have to work, I have wife and kids that I get to spend time with, and then there's fight camp. Everything else kind of went by the wayside.
Yeah, there's no extra hobbies when you're in camp, right?
Right, right. Other aspects of my lethality have taken a dip, but after the fight, I can get back to those and train those different aspects.
One of the fun things about I've always in all of my fight camps is the knowledge that it's like a chunk of your life, but it's not all of your life. I feel like when you are doing something like like if you're in the NFL or if you're doing like football and stuff, it's kind of something that is consistent and it always has to be there. Fight camp is like 6 to 8 weeks depending on what you decide, and you get to there are some things that like sacrifices that your family is making. They don't get as much time with you. They probably don't get as happy and jolly-go-lucky as a dad because he's kind of hungry and craving pizza and Jameson maybe every once in a while. But we can all understand that it's just a chunk, right? It's like it's a 6-week sentence maybe.
Yeah,
that's funny. But yeah, and I think that a lot of people forget that learning or training for a fight isn't necessarily all about like learning new martial arts moves, is it? Like you're not learning crazy new secret moves.
No, and thankfully not, because you've watched me through the years. The fancier it gets, the worse I perform at it, with the exception of like maybe one thing once in a blue moon that just for some reason sticks.
Yeah, yeah, no, and that's kind of what it is. Is that fight camp is more about not teaching you, quote unquote, how to fight, but making sure that you're fit enough to execute your game plan, right? Whatever that means for you. You have a specific style of fighting. You have things that you want to do. You have moves that you're good at. So we just need to make you fit enough and confident enough to go in there and sort of execute that game plan. So you talked about other lethalities, to use your terms. What do you enjoy other than trainings outside of fight camp?
So I like to be outside. With that, specifically, I like hunting. I'm sure a lot of them like hunting too. Yeah, you tard. I like big game hunting. I like upland game and waterfowl, but the one that I spend the most time doing, that I like doing probably the most, is I run hounds. I'm not real good at it, like a lot of things in life, but I still like it. Try to chase bear a few times a year,
So I vaguely know what running hounds means just through you and our friendship. For people who might not know, what does running hounds mean?
So running hounds, that's when you have hound dogs and you train them to chase the game that you're after, whether that's raccoons or bears or mountain lions, bobcats. I mean, there's people that train hounds to chase rabbits. Pigs is a big one.
Pigs? Interesting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's not necessarily a game that I want to get into because it's going to take more hounds and it'll also take specific dogs for catch.
I was going to say, it feels like pigs can put up a pretty good fight against a hound.
Yeah, they do. They also make armor for your catch dogs.
Oh, okay.
So the goal of the hounds is to find the pig and put it at bay, and then they have great stamina and they chase after them for a long time, and then you release your catch dog when you're a little bit closer, and these things they're like pit bulls or Dogo Argentinos, just these big, monster dogs that are very strong, very powerful, and their goal is to rush the pig and clamp down onto it, usually by the ears, and then the hunter runs up to the boar and you usually stick them with a knife in order to dispatch the animal. And but like I said, I can appreciate it. That's just not something that I really want to get into because then that means I got to get different breeds of dogs.
Yeah. How many hounds do you have now?
So right now I've only got 3.
Okay.
And I'll probably still only have 3 for another year or two. Just don't have the time to bring in another puppy and get it trained up. Besides, my hounds are a little bit barn sour at the moment. This has not been a very good year for the hounds and I, so they're fat. they're fat dogs.
Unlike you right now.
Yeah.
They're fat and out of shape. They need to go in a fight camp themselves before they can be ran again.
Yeah, I'm gonna run them into the ground, getting them ready for summer bear season.
Oh, cool. So, what type of bears?
Black bears
Black
here
bears?
in Utah. Yeah, and
Okay.
even if we had grizzly bears, I don't think I'd really want to run.
Yeah, those are the
grizzly
mean
bears.
ones, right?
I'd need like 20, 25 hounds or something like that, because
Interesting.
I'd end up losing half the dang pack.
Nice. When it comes to fighting, though, what do you have any fighters that you specifically admire or like to emulate? Like if people went onto steelfistfight.com and they ordered your fight via online pay-per-view and they watched you fight, which fighter do you think that you would probably unconsciously emulate in that MMA cage?
So there's two, and it's been a while since I've watched clips from either of them. But there's two mixed martial artists from years gone by that I really like and I, really appreciate. And the first one is actually Forrest Griffin. And it's not just because of like the way that he fought, like that's a part of it too, but just his entire candor, demeanor, and how he was. Like I remember seeing an interview that he had, and like he's at the top of his game, and he flat out said in the interview, he's like, I'm not a great fighter. I just like to fight.
Yeah.
And the dude put on a good show all the time.
Yeah.
And when you compare him to other fighters like George St. Pierre, like that dude, pretty in all of his stuff, And so it's like, okay, yeah, like I can see why he says that.
Forrest is definitely that guy too that we were talking about, whereas like even if he lost, you watched a fun fight.
Oh yeah, he had a great time. I remember watching. It was either his last fight or close to it, one of his last fights, and he was in a bad position on his back, and his opponent, I don't remember who he was fighting, were just pummeling the shit out of him. Forrest was just smiling the whole time. And I'm like, I like that cycle.
I do love Forrest. I have his book right behind you. So if you're watching, he has a book that is in our library here. So that's awesome. Let's just end with some general martial arts questions, because fighting is a part of martial arts, but fighting isn't martial arts. It's also cultural and historical applications to just the human race. As far as outside of, you can't really separate fighting from martial arts, but at the same time, what are your favorite martial arts out there? Like straight up from like, I don't know, capoeira to Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And for any reason, just give me a good martial art that you like for any reason.
So I really like Muay Thai and all the different Muay Thai variants, just because like it's raw, it's visceral, it's violent. And I also appreciate Western wrestling a lot because of all the same reasons. Mm-hmm. Whenever I feel like I'm suffering from withdrawals of watching people get introduced to the ground violently, I like to watch Greco-Roman wrestling clips, and it's happy birthday to the ground for 5 minutes straight.
Hitting people with planets.
Oh my gosh, it's just so beautiful.
There's something interesting about your choices as far as like favorite martial arts, and the thing that sticks out immediately to me is that they're both competition qualified martial arts. Muay Thai, I agree with you, is one fun, beautiful martial art, but it's a sport, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Like you have to apply it violently in order to be able to do it with any kind of means. And it's the same thing with Western style Olympic collegiate competition wrestling. Like you have to kind of qualify that with sweat and competition on the mat, which kind of makes sense that you're looking to do an MMA fight. It seems like you're that kind of man who's like, look, it's worth it if you can apply it. And if you can't really apply it, less so. All right, so one last question that I'm figuring I'm going to ask everybody here on Fight Cherry, and it's more of like a relaxed style question. What's your favorite martial arts film?
That's probably the hardest question. All right, I'll give you two. Ong Bak.
Ong Bak. Okay.
It's Muay Thai.
Yeah.
And it's beautifully applied Muay Thai.
It's very artistic
Muay
Muay Thai, for sure.
Like all of the things. And is it called Drunken Master?
I can help you with that one.
With Jackie Chan.
With Jackie Chan. Drunken Master 2, I'd imagine. The second one.
There's two?
Legend of the Drunken Master is Drunken Master 2 in China. It's the only one that had an American release here.
Okay, yes, that one.
Drunken Master.
Yes.
That's that one. That one's actually my favorite.
Well,
so we're
grew up watching Jackie Chan, just like you and everybody else our age, and man, he's so much fun. And then when you learn that he does all of his stunts, and then wait, hold on, like he's actually a martial artist, and it's one of the, I guess, kind of niche, lesser known films because it was all in Chinese, right?
Yep.
Like, it was never English dubbed.
Yeah, well, it was dubbed in English when it got released here theatrically.
Okay.
But yeah, they you can't find it online. I recently rented it, and I couldn't find one with an English dub for some reason. So maybe that's why. But yeah, both beautiful films, wholeheartedly approved. And thanks for not saying Three Ninjas and lying to everybody out there. All right, so with that, guys, we're going to call this podcast adieu. Once again, Mike, soon to be the Raging Pagan Allen, fights May 31st for Steel Fist. If you're local here in the Utah Pleasant Grove area or Salt Lake City area, you can purchase tickets at steelfistfight.com. I do believe that they have a online viewing of it if you're outside of the Salt Lake City area through Steel Fist Fight Night, a company called Blitz TV. I have been here the whole time. I am your host, Big Bang Michael Lasky. Have a great day.